Yo, what's going on, my fantasy family? We're here. We're back. Another episode of Off the Line Fantasy Podcast. Once again, my name is Eugene. I'm one of the hosts on the show. And if this is your first time listening to us, we thank you for coming and joining the ride with us. You can find me on Twitter at Fantasy Genes. That's GENES. You can also find our official Twitter page at Off the Line FF. And on this pod, you'll find us talking all things fantasy football, analyzing certain players and their situations, having a few laughs along the way, and all in hopes of, in a language that you can understand to apply to your fantasy squads. Now, to my other host of the show, my boy Ike, what's going on?
What's good, man? I could be found on Twitter at just_Ike09. I mean, yeah, just ready to get going, ready to get rolling. We're already into week 10. Week 9 was a pretty bizarre week to say the least. a lot of MVP caliber players, pretty much wet the bed. A lot of things, you didn't expect to see happened, like, the Jacksonville Jaguars beating the Bills. Nobody saw that coming. The Broncos going into Dallas and destroying our beloved Cowboys.
Boy, they bashed our heads in, man.
They were up 30-0 at one point in that game. I think it was the red stripe on the helmet. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, I think so too, man.
So yeah, just
don't do it again.
Don't do it again. Point blank, period. But yeah, it's just a bizarre week overall. But there was a couple of things that did seem to be a little normal. And one player in particular that kind of did his normal thing was Lamar Jackson. Another casual comeback, from double digits in the second half. I think that it's his third one of the season. They beat the Vikings 34-31 in overtime. He had over 300 plus yards, he had close to 400 yards of total offense. Again, he had 120 rushing yards, over 265 passing yards. And what's interesting about his day, not that he came back from double digits, but another thing interesting is he had more rushing yards than Dalvin Cook and more passing yards than Kirk Cousins. So he's doing it all for that team. And one stat that I did come across on Twitter was, since week 11, 2018, that's when he took over as the starter for the Ravens. There's been only 4 players that have more rushing yards than him. And they're Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook, and Ezekiel Elliott.
That's a solid list, man.
That's the end of the list, man. Like, this guy he's putting the Ravens on his back, literally and figuratively. And another interesting thing about Lamar Jackson, when he throws the ball, he only throws to 3 players. Almost 75% of his passes since week 6 have gone to Hollywood Brown, Rashad Bateman, and Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
So, Lamar Jackson, just another stellar performance. And I feel like he should be the front runner for MVP. Peripherals don't look as great. He only had 13 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. That's what people are going to focus on. But if you want to look at, just his rushing production, I think he's still top 7 or 8 in the league in rushing yards at the quarterback position. I think he should be, in the MVP race, most definitely. And he's also on pace for 6,000 yards, which is 6,000 total yards, which is another absurd stat.
Yeah, I think Vegas got him like 6 in odds right now, 6 or 7. I thought it was interesting. Tom Brady was 1, so we'll see how the season progresses to see how those odds change. So, we talked about one quarterback. Let's move to another. I know an offense that a lot of people have a lot of stocks in, the Chiefs offense. Once again, we saw Patty Mahomes looking stressed and pressed versus Green Bay without Aaron Rodgers. He can only muster up 166 yards. Jordan Love had more than he did. I think Tyreek's ADOT was like the lowest ever in his career.
Yeah.
I think
He's throwing short
4.5.
passes. A lot of
Yeah,
short
four
passes.
4.5 yards per attempt. Yeah, I mean, everybody now is just playing straight cover two shell, which is really odd that, just some of these teams that is like they don't like it's almost like this is a new concept, like they've never seen cover two before. Like I don't get it. It's
Yeah.
weird to me. But I don't know. Overall, the offense again still looks scared. I don't know if your boy I can't even think coach's name, Andy Reid. I don't know if he has I don't know if he got him on a leash to trying to keep him contained, like just to keep Patty Mahomes from not making too many mistakes, which he didn't do this game. But again, he just looks very unsettled in the pocket. It's like one, two reads, and then he just like his brain is just scrambled. So I don't know. Hopefully they figure something out. Maybe they talk to Odell to tell him to come through or something because
Yeah.
they
And
need some
maybe
help.
and you know what? Maybe it's because of his kid brother just dancing, just TikToking away, and that's kind of messing with his.
Oh my gosh. Ever since they started posting those videos, I mean, it looked like all his powers got zapped.
Yeah,
Like it's like all his powers transferred to his brother, and his brother doesn't know what to do with them with his stiff ass dance moves that he posts
yeah.
on TikTok.
He has absolutely no rhythm whatsoever. But yeah, like I keep every time I come across one of those videos, I cringe every time. Like, yeah, man, but something's up with Mahomes. He's not even looking to go downfield anymore.
No.
He's like you said, he's unsettled in the pocket, and he's once he drops back to pass, he's moving his head a little bit too fast, and he's looking to get out of there, and he doesn't even need to do that. Like he just needs
Yeah.
to just kind of be patient, play within himself, and he's not doing that right now.
I mean, he tried to. I mean, you see how they tried to get Hardeman involved, and this dude kept dropping passes. Like it's literally Tyreek Kelsey. Don't
Yeah.
even think about anybody else, playing anybody else. I
Yeah,
mean, you
yeah.
can
Hardman is not a thing. He hasn't been a thing. I
no,
think I read a stat. I can't remember the specifics off the top of my head, but I know that he's run like over 300 plus routes and only has like 53 total targets. And then he has just obviously that one touchdown. It was off of a flip.
yeah,
I think didn't he score? I want to say he scored like a couple of weeks ago, but it was just off of a flip. It's one of those push passes that whenever you put
yeah.
in
That's what it
motion.
was. It was a push pass. He ran for like 21 yards or something for a
Yeah,
touchdown.
but
Yeah,
needless to say, you can't start any other player on the Chiefs other than Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelsey.
no,
And
and maybe
Mahomes he's bordering on unstartable territory
yeah,
himself.
I know, man, and I know
I
a lot
it
of people
sounds
spend a-
it
people spend
sounds
a
very
lot of draft
sacrilegious.
capital.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. People, you spent in Dynasty you probably spent a top 5 pick on him, and in redraft you probably spent a second round pick on him. He's not getting early on in the season. Maybe he was getting some returns, but right now, I mean, he looks like a QB, a mid range QB2, and he's not. Maybe he can get on track this week against the Raiders, but right now, yeah, he just looks like a shell of himself at this point.
yeah,
Hopefully, he can
I
turn it around. We're not we're
yeah.
not we're not we're not reciting a eulogy for Patrick Mahomes' fantasy season right now, but it's looking pretty bad at the moment.
Yeah, another offense that struggled. You brought up at the beginning of the show was the Bills' offense. Their
Yeah,
their red zone offense stinks, man. It's been since week one. Like they get inside the 20 and they don't. It's like everything short circuits. Like nobody knows what's going on. Like it just is almost they don't have any space and just Josh Allen doesn't know what to do.
yeah,
But this particular game was bad because their O-line couldn't block anybody that the Jags were rushing with, and they were only rushing for majority. They weren't even blitzing. It was like the front four, and you might see an occasional linebacker pop up in there, but they were killing them with the front four. And again, this team also is now seeing a bunch of cover two shell, and they don't know what to do. Josh Allen throwing picks, fumbling the ball,
yeah,
but overall, at least he's moving the ball better than what the Chiefs are doing. You can still start all three of their wide receivers, Beasley, Sanders, Diggs, uh, with with um, with a good amount of confidence.
yeah.
But their offense is struggling. Like they're now 19th in offensive DVOA from Football Outsider. So just want to just keep that in mind when you got Bills on your roster.
Yeah, it's a very confusing time for that Bills offense. They're just not clicking the way they're supposed to. They may be getting Dawson Knox back because at least the last 2 weeks they've been struggling to kind of score points on offense. But Dawson Knox, like whenever he was in the lineup, he was running a lot of routes and he was getting down the field. He was providing a nice safety blanket for Josh Allen in the middle of the field. So once he gets back from that hand injury, I think Sean McDermott said that he's going to practice tomorrow. They start practicing tomorrow, so that'll be a welcome addition to that struggling Bills offense.
Yep. So just moving, changing gears to running back. Sadly, this running back went against our Cowboys in his limited touches. Your boy Javonte Williams destroyed us for 17 for 100 and 17 carries for 111 rushing yards. One thing was evident in this one also that the forced missed tackle rate is high with this one. He showed it against us. He's at 37% for the season. Nobody's over 30. I do know that for the year, he's doing this on less than half the snaps. So, I mean, this is somebody, if he's somehow on your waiver wires, this is somebody that I would definitely get. If you could, I would try to maybe trade for him and or Gordon. I mean, I wouldn't like actively try to go for Gordon, but both of these running backs are blessed with a great schedule for the rest of the season and going into fantasy playoffs. So Javonte Williams is a beast for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely if you just use your eyes, he is the best running back in that backfield. Melvin Gordon is playing well. He's played well all season. But what the coaches have dictated to us all season long is that this is going to be a split until further notice. If one person gets hurt, then it's wheels up for the other guy. But we would hope that at some point, Javonte Williams, he's actually on pace for over 1,000, close to 1,100 total yards on the season. And he's only playing, like you said, he's only playing less than half of the snaps and only getting roughly 50% of the running back opportunities. So if there's any kind of uptick for Javonte Williams, I think he's going to have a J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers end to the season like those guys did last year for your fantasy squads, and he's going to be on he's going to be on a lot of fantasy championship rosters. So just continue to. I mean, you can definitely start him as an RB2 each week going forward. But if he has any kind of uptick in usage, just look out. The sky's the limit for this kid.
Definitely.
Yeah, and then just kind of continuing on this running back trend, we did see one of our beloved star running backs return to action this week, Christian McCaffrey. He did have 18 touches and he had 108 total yards. He's back, guys. And the thing is, they eased him in. He only had 49% of the snaps, but he did touch the ball on 62% of those snaps. So whenever he was in the game, they fed him. Unfortunately, you guys that had Chuba Hubbard,
it's over.
It's over. It's over. I mean, there's no other way to say it. It's over. CMC, they eased him in, and he's looking pretty healthy out there. I think he had like a 20-yard plus carry against the Patriots. So he's just going to continue to get healthier, and he's going to eventually return to that CMC that we drafted number 1 overall in most of our redraft leagues and a lot of our dynasty leagues.
Yeah, and it was also evident whenever he was out, we saw Abdullah more than we saw Hubbard. On top of that, a lot on passing downs for sure. So, if you didn't move off of, I mean, you can hold on to Hubbard and you hope that CMC gets hurt again. Outside of that, he's pretty much just he's just pretty much a rock. He's not gonna get no touches. So
and as the saying goes, hope is not a strategy. So if you're hoping for an injury, you're doing it wrong.
All right. So one person that I know you like a lot, that it sucks to see this kind of crumble a little bit for him. Mike Williams, wide receiver for the Chargers, another down week for him, 2 for 58. Just the numbers have been just declining since week 5. His target shares have not been above 14% since week 5. I don't know what happened. I don't know if somebody somebody from the old regime snuck back in and told him like, hey, let's just make him go back to just go routes. I don't know what's going on, but he's not getting the looks anymore for whatever reason. I think, and also in that span after week 5, he's only had 200 air yards. The first 5 weeks he had over 600. So I don't understand what's going on with his looks. I don't know what changed, but it sucks to see, because I thought wheels were up for this guy at the beginning of the year. Now it just looks like it's more of the same. So
yeah, I mean, one thing I will add to that though, to put things into a little bit more context, week 6, that's when he was on the injury report with the knee injury, and he didn't practice all week long. He didn't even practice on it didn't even come out until Saturday that he was playing. But in that game against the Ravens, where they got blown out, he only played 36% of the snaps. And then week 7 was obviously their bye. And then week 8, this past week, actually, no, 2 weeks ago, week 8, Justin Herbert he struggles with Bill Belichick's defenses.
Yeah.
So, we can kind of say that he has his number. And they also game plan around stopping Mike Williams in the deep ball. So there wasn't many opportunities there. And then obviously last week, he had the Darius Slay shadow treatment. He did catch a deep ball on him, but that was like really, those targets were very few and far between throughout the game. He only had 5 total targets in that game. But he does have a good matchup coming up this week against the Vikings. And they're the 7th most advantageous defense, to wide receivers. So if there's ever a time that he could potentially get right, it could be this week against the Vikings. And they just
right here.
they just let Hollywood Brown go for 9 for 116 against them. So you never know. So I'm still holding out a little like I said, hope. I said hope's not a strategy earlier, but only when it doesn't apply to me. Only when it doesn't apply to me. But
so I guess the main topic of fantasy right now is your boy OBJ and where he's going. The last I heard is that he was ordering fish tacos, trying to figure out if he wanted to use hot sauce or he wanted to use medium. Like the news is just like hounding to trying to figure out where this dude is going. Like, I mean, the last we saw is that he was interested. He had the Packers' priority with the Seahawks, kind of teasing a little bit. Pete Carroll just putting it out there. I don't know you never know how serious he is.
I wouldn't. The Seahawks, as far as I'm concerned, the Seahawks are out because Pete Carroll's a liar.
Yeah, even though they got cap space, but yeah, Pete Carroll's a liar. And then he's also had conversations with the Pats, the Chiefs, and the Saints.
Yeah.
Now, for fantasy purposes, for people that have him on their roster and they're still holding on to him, which one of these teams would you think that he would be able to make a big enough impact for people's rosters?
I mean, honestly, I feel like Kansas City would be the most ideal spot because they are in desperate need of a number 2. Desperate need of a number 2 receiver to go alongside Tyreek Hill. I know we did talk about Mahomes, how he hasn't been playing well, but maybe that's exactly what he needs. Maybe he needs a reliable number 2 because they know what they're doing to Tyreek Hill. They know they're taking the deep shots away from them, the deep pass away from them. So maybe they need another guy like Odell Beckham. I don't know how much I feel like Odell Beckham has a lot left in the tank because he still gets open. He still runs pretty damn good routes. He can still come in and out of his breaks. So there's still a lot to like with Odell Beckham. It's just that he wasn't getting the targets and he wasn't getting a lot of catchable targets from Baker Mayfield in Cleveland for whatever reason. I still can't understand. It's not like he was in the wrong spot because catchable targets are that's the quarterback's fault. That's mainly the quarterback's fault. So I would like to see him in either Kansas City or New England, because New England is hosting Cleveland on Sunday. And what better way to kick off week? What better way to kick off week 10 than a OBJ?
But you think they would get him out there that quick though?
I mean, look, if they sign him tonight or sign him Wednesday, get him to the facility, get him a couple of practices, they can get him some plays on Sunday.
Yeah, they could. I mean, we know Bill Belichick is petty, but I don't.
I mean, it's a possibility that it could happen.
It is a possibility.
But I would like to see, but those are probably the two places that I would, for fantasy purposes, would make the most sense. Obviously, Green Bay makes sense as well, because you're playing with Aaron Rodgers, and they're usually devoid of a number 2 receiver, so they could definitely use Odell Beckham in that role. So yeah, I mean, all 3 of these teams are good options. But if I were to rank them, it would be Kansas City, then it would be Green Bay, and then it would be New England.
Yeah, I think for me for fantasy, it would be the Packers 1, Chiefs 2, Pats 3. I don't want to see them. The Saints would be useless.
Yeah.
It'd be pointless. And then
he's not
Seattle
want to passes from Taysom Hill or Trevor
Siemian. Yeah. And I mean, it'll be good to see him with Russ, because Russ is one of the best deep ball throwers, but I don't know. They throw the ball like 22 times a game. How many targets is he gonna get when you already got DK and Lockett?
Yeah, they like to establish the run too much over there. So I think they're out. I think they should be out. I mean, Pete Carroll, he wants to have some gamesmanship or whatever with the media. I don't think it's happening over there. So but we'll see. It's still a fluid situation, and I'm looking forward to seeing where he lands. Hopefully, he lands with one of the 3 that we mentioned.
Yeah. Now, like we said at the beginning of the show, that this week was a little funky, a little crazy, and that goes into our next segment, which is our fantasy MVP of the week, which is one of unexpected. James Conner. We saw Chase Edmonds get hurt his first carry of the game, and then he was pretty much done with a high ankle sprain.
Yeah.
James Conner looked vintage James Carter from Pittsburgh. He had the little jump cuts that he learned from Le'Veon. He finishes the RB1 for the week, 77% of snaps, 19% target share. He even had he usually gets majority of the red zone carries, so that was nothing new for him. He had 96 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and then another 5 catches on 5 targets with 77 yards and another touchdown. He looked good, man. Like, there's nothing else to it. Like, he looked good. Like, in the emergency RB1 role that they called him for, and he did it. Even with the backup quarter, he had Chase McCoy out there slinging a rock, and I mean, they couldn't stop him. Like, he looked unstoppable. So
yeah, and surprisingly, he looked pretty spry out there. Like, he was running. He looked fast. He actually looked fast. On the screen pass where he caught for that 45-yard touchdown,
mm-hmm.
he was actually surprised at how fast he was, because he kept looking over his shoulder every other stride. He kept looking over his shoulder.
He's like, damn, nobody tackled me yet. All right, let me keep going.
Yeah, like he turned on the Jets, man. He looks really good out there, man. He's finally healthy for like the first time in his career, because ever since he became a starter, he always had some sort of lower body injury or some sort of injury that's debilitating in some capacity. So this is he's pretty fresh right now. He wasn't really being used too much, because Chase Edmonds was still out snapping him for the most part. But obviously James Conner now he has 11 touchdowns on the season. He was still getting those goal line touches, and that was pretty much his role. And now he's going to have a more expanded role. And we saw a little bit of a preview of that this week. So as long as Chase Edmonds is out with that high ankle sprain, you're going to see a lot of James Conner early and often.
Yeah, definitely.
And then from one balling running back to another balling running back, we wanted to we usually want to have one fantasy MVP of the week, but this was too good to pass up. We wanted to go ahead and include Mr. Jonathan Taylor from the Colts in this segment as well. He just another stellar game for him. 19 carries, 172 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Jets. 69% snap rate. This is his 6th straight game with a touchdown. I think he has a couple of games in there with multiple touchdowns. The guy he's just a freak. He's the number one. He's in those of you in dynasty leagues, he is the undisputed number 1 running back in dynasty. There's no question about it. And we want to start. Next year. this is quite the look ahead. But next year is he the number 1? Is he the 101 in most drafts? Can he be? Because Marlon Mack's going to be gone, and all he has is Naheem Hines, and Naheem Hines isn't really cutting to his workload.
No,
it's a possibility that this guy can be the 101 in a lot of formats.
Yeah, most people in Dynasty playing super flex. You still want to start off with the quarterback. I would want to see how the season ends for like Josh Allen and Lamar could possibly be number 1 and Patty Mahomes. But let's see. But Jonathan would be the first non-quarterback for sure. In my book to be off the board for sure. So
he's just a stud. He's the weight, like he's 6'2", 6'1", 230, and he runs a 4.3. And that one touchdown that he had against the Jets, like that 178 yarder.
Oh yeah, man.
It was just curtains. As soon as he hit the sideline, it was absurd. Like I just, whenever you see people that big running that fast,
just move out the way, man.
Just get out the way.
That's just like that's that Derrick Henry treatment, man. Once he gets to that second level, you see people they start making business decisions.
Yeah.
All right. So from MVP, we also got to talk about the loser valuable player of the week. Ours is our boy Sammy D. Sam Darnold just looks like ass.
Let me take this one.
All right, go ahead.
Because he is single-handedly killing one of my favorite players in fantasy, DJ Moore. But Sam Darnold, another shitty performance. 16 of 33, 173 yards and 3 interceptions, 1 fumble. Per Pro Football Reference, this is something that a couple of stats that I kind of came across the last couple of days. With the Jets, he had a 3.2% interception rate and a 7.4% sack rate. With the Panthers, his interception rate is 3.6 and the sack rate is 6.7. So this is essentially the same guy. As that saying goes, a leopard never changes his spots.
Never.
Over the last 5 games, he has 0 passing touchdowns. 0 passing touchdowns. And he has 2 rushing, and he has 2 rushing touchdowns and 9 turnovers in that span. And on the season, he has 7 total touchdowns and 11 interceptions. Whenever an organization invests, so much in a guy to be consistently mediocre, it just it makes you wonder, it makes you scratch your head. They need to figure out a way to go away from him, and I think PJ Walker is probably going to start this week now.
He definitely is starting.
Yeah, he's going to start. We just saw that Sam Darnold has a broken scapula and his throwing shoulder and he's going to miss a couple of weeks. So look, maybe this is a you don't want to see anybody get hurt. You definitely don't want to see people get hurt. But maybe that PJ Walker can, once he takes over, he can maybe inject some life into this offense with his running ability, and maybe he'll target DJ Moore, more accurately down the field, and Robbie Anderson more accurately down the field.
Robbie Anderson was on that man's neck on the sideline.
Yeah, Robbie Anderson provided like one of the best memes of the week.
Gosh.
On Sunday, it was crazy. Like since week 5, Robbie Anderson has 9 catches for 57 yards on 31 targets.
I'm surprised that's the only time the cameras have caught Robbie Anderson like getting on his quarterback like that. It took him to that point to be like, hey, bro, like let's try to get some balls to me, because last year I was balling and now I'm just like, now I'm just like a waiver wire wide receiver, man. And I
Yeah.
just got paid.
Yeah. And if there's any kind of something to look forward to, PJ Walker did start one game last year, and him and DJ Moore kind of connected for 7 catches, 127 yards on 11 targets and a touchdown. So if there's one thing to kind of, potentially hold out some sort of hope for, it would be, a connection from, PJ Walker to DJ Moore. And DJ Moore, I mean, he still has a favorable schedule. He has Arizona, Washington, and I think this week, I'm trying to remember, he has Arizona this week and Washington over the next couple of weeks. He still has a pretty good schedule, against certain cornerbacks and against certain defenses. And so if there's a time to potentially buy him, I would definitely look to start sending some trade offers for him, because he may take off in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's
with
true.
a new quarterback under center.
That's true. All right, so our favorite segment of the show, cap or no cap. For the people that are listening for the first time that might not know what cap means, cap is another word for saying you're lying. So if Ike says that he got waves in his hair, I'm gonna say cap because he don't got no hair. He bald. All right, so let's go ahead and start this joint off. Your boy Jordan Howard, can he sustain RB2 production? I'll just say for the next week, because Miles Sanders is going to come back by what week? Maybe a week or two. So we don't know what it's going to look like then. But do you think this is something that he can RB2 production for the next let's just say 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, the role that he's in, I mean, he's like the early down grinder. He definitely gets all the goal line work. And then the Eagles have committed strongly to running the ball over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I think in neutral game script, so basically when the game is tied, they are at 29% pass rate. So that's so they're just running and running and running and running. So as long as that keeps up, I mean, I don't see how Jordan Howard can't sustain RB2 production. Over the next couple of weeks while Miles Sanders, because they obviously hate Miles Sanders because all of the rushing touchdowns have gone to every Eagles running back on the roster except for Miles
him, which is crazy. I want to say it's cap because they play Denver and they play New Orleans. I don't think them running the ball 70% of the time is going to be a formula for them to win those games. It's obvious that they don't want Jalen to throw the ball that much for whatever reason. I mean, if you watch their games, you just see Devontae Smith always open, man, always open.
Yeah.
Like this dude was open the entire game versus the Chargers.
He could have had a 200-yard game.
Yeah, always open. But yeah, I don't know. Like it's crazy because he's doing this on 32% of the snaps. That's all he's getting these 2 games combined, and he has 128 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he's playing 2 tough run defenses these coming 2 weeks. I just don't think that he's going to be that effective. So I'm gonna say cap on this one.
That's fair.
All right, next one. This is somebody I know you like because he's in one of our leagues that you have. I think you might own him in both of the leagues that we have. But your boy Elijah Moore, we have seen a little bit. We've seen him getting a little more love. But do you think he's startable for fantasy lineups for the rest of the year?
It should be no cap. It should be, but I'm gonna say as an Elijah Moore truther, I'm going to say that it's cap only until I see what happens when Corey Davis comes back healthy, because he's been out the last couple of games with the hip injury.
Mm-hmm.
But on Thursday night, I mean the Jets, they rotated like 6 different wide receivers, and Elijah Moore didn't really have the greatest target share, only 15%. But he's clearly far and away their most explosive player, their best player, their best receiver. Absolutely, he had 7 catches, 84 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So for now, I'm going to say it's cap. But once Corey Davis comes back, we'll see. We'll see if he's going to continue to get the usage that he needs to be getting, or that usage, spikes a little bit, or target share spikes a little bit. But he dominated the SEC and at Ole Miss. He ran a 4.35 at their pro day. Like this guy is electric in space, and it just boggles my mind that coaching staffs don't see, or they wait till like late in the season to see, oh, you know what, we've had this guy on the bench for so long, and we realize that he's good, so let's start using him more. Like why can't we start using him at the early part of the season? So yeah, no, I think yeah. So again, it's cap until we see what happens with Corey Davis.
Yeah, I think it's cap too. It's too many cooks in the kitchen, man, for me. And his target share hasn't been above 15 since week 3. So
there's a lot of mediocre cooks too. A lot of those people aren't good.
Yeah, I don't even know if they know how to make spaghetti, man.
They keep trotting out something called a Braxton Berrios, Keelan Cole, Denzel Mims. I mean, he's talented. I mean, he's pretty explosive in his own right, but he just hasn't been able to fire like he's supposed to.
Yeah,
Corey Davis, and he's a pretty decent receiver, so I guess that's probably the only guy that you can probably say that's pretty good.
And Jamison Crowder, man.
I mean, he's a slot guy, and he's not. I don't know. I guess.
Yeah. He's a reliable turkey.
He's reliable. He's a good possession guy. He's reliable.
Yeah. Get you a turkey sandwich with some spinach. Yeah, about it.
little mustard.
Yeah.
American cheese on there.
Yeah, man. All right. AJ Dillon. Can we start him in fantasy lineups now? Cap or no cap?
Honestly, like I'm gonna say no cap on this one, because I'm gonna say no cap. I know on the show sheet we had I had put big cap, but now to think about it a little bit more, even though he's still not playing up to 40% of the snaps, because that's concerning. He's making the most of his opportunities. So like he's rushing for, he has 27 carries to Aaron Jones' 33 carries over the last 3 weeks. So he's closing the gap, rushing yards wise. But in this last game, with Jordan Love at under center, he had 4 catches for 44 yards. So he was used in the passing game, which was a surprise to me.
Mm-hmm.
Where Aaron Jones usually excels in the passing game. Look, both of those running backs look really good.
Yeah,
when they get the ball. But you can't deny that AJ Dillon is not playing. He's playing well right now. So when he's getting the ball, he's making the most of his opportunities. And now if that snap share increases, and really, really cuts into Aaron Jones' workload, then A, we can be concerned about Aaron Jones, and then B, we can most certainly start AJ Dillon with confidence. And I think you can still start AJ Dillon as like a flex, because he's starting to carve out a little bit of standalone value. But the snap shares are still not where we need to be for somebody to really trust somebody like him in your lineups.
Yeah, I'm surprised you had the switch, man.
I thought about it a little bit more. Didn't want to deny the obvious.
Nah, he looks good, man. Like, I wish I was a little more. See, when you start drafting at the beginning of the season, when you draft a handcuff, you got to be committed to the cuff. And I was not committed to the cuff when I had him in a couple of leagues. So when you draft a handcuff, you got to be committed. Don't waste a draft pick on a handcuff that you're going to drop 2 weeks later. I'm also going to say no cap, because you keep hearing what's his name? I can't even think of Green Bay's coach's name now, but you keep hearing LaFleur. You keep hearing him talking about AJ Dillon, man. So I mean, he's now getting the touches too.
Yeah, and he's been in love with AJ Dillon whenever he first drafted him. He just couldn't stop talking about his size.
He wanted Derrick Henry reincarnated, man.
Yeah, so as one of the co-founders of the Aaron Jones fan club here, it does make me feel a ways to have to say some nice things about AJ Dillon. But I can't deny it. I can't deny it. He's playing well right now, and I actually have him starting in a couple of leagues right now, mainly because I don't have any running backs. But he's providing a pretty decent floor in a couple, over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. So I like the. I mean, we're in week 10 now, so we're in the double digits of the fantasy season. By now, you should be able to look at your team, look at your record, and see if you are a contender or you're a pretender. Um, so in this section, waiver wire pickups, you know, are you a contender? Are you looking to, add some pieces that might be valuable to you towards the end of the season, for the week? Doing your roster gymnastics because of bye weeks or because of injuries, or are you a pretender and you're just playing the waiver wire to play upset?
play spoiler, if you will.
Yeah. So I'm gonna touch on some quarterbacks real quick. It's kind of skint this week, I think, because of like some of the matchups. But I mean, I think some of these might be sneaky. So Matt Ryan, I think if you need him for a spot start, he's playing against Dallas. Dallas does allow you can move the ball on us. I cannot deny that. You can move the ball. So we have right now looking like a 54.5 point total. So there's points to be had. You might as well get in on it. I'm going to go get you pick up Matt Ryan if you need a quarterback. Also, sadly, I put this on the list is Big Ben. He's playing against Detroit. If you think he's going to throw the ball a little bit, you can start him. Detroit is 29th in pass DVOA, and also Taylor Heineke. They're coming off a bye. Hopefully, Logan Thomas, maybe he might be back this week, so that might help we have another passing option. But they're a 10-point underdog versus Tampa Bay, so they're going to be down. They're going to be throwing a lot, so that could be another option for you.
Yeah, and just real quick, we'll just touch on running backs. Benjamin, he's probably near the top of the list of waiver wire pickups. He had 9 carries for 39 yards and a touchdown against San Francisco, and he had a nice big touchdown. So he's going to be the change of pace guy, and he may be used on some passing downs. We'll just have to see how it shakes out, but he's definitely a priority add. And today we got news that Nick Chubb and I believe
Demetric
Felton got placed on the COVID list. Now they both are vaccinated, so we'll have to wait and see if they'll actually have the 2 negative back-to-back tests before, in 24 hours before they're allowed back. But as of right now, if you somehow dropped Ernest Johnson because Nick Chubb came back, pick him right back up.
Go get him.
Go get him now. Like if your league already ran waivers for whatever reason, and he's a free agent, pick him up now.
Go get him.
Yeah, because he'll be somebody to keep an eye on. Devin Singletary, I know that a lot of you have been kind of frustrated by his production this year, but Zach Moss missed most of the game with a concussion. So if he's out this week, then Devin Singletary will see a lot of looks in that backfield as the primary ball carrier in a supposedly high-scoring offense. Hasn't been that way the last couple of weeks, but hopefully they can get right this week against the Jets in New York.
All right, so wide receivers, Rashad Bateman, like our boy Ray JQ likes to say, Shotty B.
Shotty B.
If he's on your waivers, go get him. Like we said at the beginning of the show, he is one of the 3 targets only that are receiving anything from Lamar Jackson. Since he's been healthy, he's seen 18% target share. So that's 3 weeks of 18% from a rookie wide receiver, man. Like you can use that on lineups. Another guy that we talked beforehand was Elijah Moore. Again, he is getting a little bit more snaps. Yes, the Jets rotated like 6, 7, 8 wide receivers that you probably don't know half of their names. But I mean, he still had 7 for 84 and 2 touchdowns with the little snap share that he had. Hopefully, and then he has a quarterback with hopefully Mike White comes back and he liked throwing to him. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Another wide receiver just signed with the Raiders, Deshaun Jackson. I know he's old, but I mean that deep threat is undeniable. And if they use him like, I'm assuming they're going to want to use him like they had with Henry Ruggs, with the person that the go route guy, and Derek Carr throws. I think he leads the league in the amount of deep ball throws percentage per game. So that's just, I mean, it is a boom or bust type of play, but this is somebody also you can go after is available. And the last wide receiver that I have is Van Jefferson. I know I talked about him last week, but again, he the last 3 weeks now he's seen at least an 84% target snap share, and also at least 6 targets. And they're running a lot of 11 personnel, which means that they're running a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. So as long as he's on the field, there's opportunity. If there's opportunity, there's production. So 31% of those air yards and 17% target share within that same 3-week span. So when they're throwing, I mean, 31% of air yards, that's a lot. I mean, that's elite. That's elite numbers right there. So air yards is just the amount of yards that a ball travels before it gets to the player. So I mean, that's opportunity right there. And then 17% target share is a good, I mean, it's a good healthy number
it's a decent amount. Yeah.
For and then for your
third receiver
3. Yeah. That's that's something you could take advantage of if he's available.
Yeah, and just a couple more, just real quick. Donovan Peoples-Jones for the Browns. He had 2 catches for 86 yards and a touchdown. He had a big 60-yarder against the against the Bengals this past week. Now he didn't run nearly as many routes as Jarvis Landry and Anthony Schwartz for the Browns, but he is a deep ball target, or he is a deep threat. So I think that's somebody that you can probably slot in as a spot star, as a flex or a wide receiver 3 or 4. And also Deontay Harris for the Saints. He just kind of came off of 6 catches, a 6-catch game. He looked to be the most explosive Saints receiver, even though he was third in snaps for the Saints wide receivers behind Traquan Smith and Marquez Callaway. But he is their most explosive guy outside of Alvin Kamara right now, and the Saints could definitely use some sort of offensive jolt with how they played lately. Those are a couple of quick hitters.
And tight ends, I mean, if Dan Arnold's available, I mean, Dan Arnold's getting a lot of targets from Trevor Lawrence. If Logan Thomas somehow gets off the IR and plays this week,
they're on the bot. No, they are.
No, they came out this week. Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah. Who else? Cole Kmet, maybe, if he's available. Pat Freiermuth, if he's available. But outside of that, there's not really much else in terms of tight end. Tight end's a wasteland. So
yeah, and over the next couple of weeks, waiver wire will probably be kind of condensed down as as we get to later point in the season. There's not going to be that many priority ads as over the first 10 weeks. There have been so many different moving parts and a lot more priority ads. So as we just kind of get towards the latter half of the season, mostly everybody's been picked up, and we'll just touch on a couple of players here and there, but not anything super extensive.
Yeah. All right. Barbecue chicken alert. That's matchups to attack. If anybody that does not know what barbecue chicken alert means, so if you watched Inside the NBA on TNT with with Shaq and Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, one thing I know, Shaq, whenever he used to see any opponent that was just like, you see him and you just like, this is going to be easy work, you just said barbecue chicken alert. Like, you look at your opponent and you just see food, like you can just go there as easy work. So these are defenses or sections of defenses that we feel that offenses can attack and you can get some good production from. All right, go ahead and start us off.
The first one I have is Dalvin Cook versus the Chargers defense. The Chargers, their last in rush defense DVOA. They've given up at least 140 plus yards in 4 straight games, and the most egregious one was over 200 to the Browns, and then 5 ridiculous shootout in LA. But yeah, Dalvin Cook, he's primed for a big game. He ripped off a 66-yard run against the Ravens this past week, and he's well past an ankle injury that kind of plagued him during the early part of the year, and he's just ready to roll. I think he has like 3 100-yard games out of his like 5 fully healthy games, 5 or 6 healthy games. So he's, Dalvin Cook is ready to roll against the Chargers, and his over under for the week is 85.5. He's going to smash that.
Smash.
And that's actually one of our prop picks that we'll touch on a little bit later on. But yeah, that's Dalvin Cook is an easy smash against the Chargers defense. And another running back as well that we can talk about is Naji Harris, the rookie for the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Lions defense. The Lions fantasy points to the running back position, and they're 25th in rush defense DVOA. So that's another smash for Naji Harris in the running back position.
All right, so for me, I got Tampa Bay, everybody in their offense. The quarterback. No, let me go back. I got the quarterback and pass catchers versus Washington's defense. Tampa Bay just come off a bye. Washington's defense is the friendliest via fantasy points to the quarterback and wide receiver positions. Tom Brady after a bye, you get your pass catchers healthier. Gronk might be back for this one. I'm not sure if AB will, but Washington, they can't get pressure on the quarterback, and the corners suck. So fire up any and everybody on that Tampa Bay offense.
Yeah, Evans and Godwin should have a field day.
Man, yes. And and then also on top of there's a 51 and a half over under. So basically, Vegas is betting that this game total is 51 and a half points. So I mean that's a lot of points for a team to cover. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of points scored. Go get Tampa Bay. Yep. You could even go Washington on the other end just for garbage time. Yep. But focus on Tampa Bay. And my other one, this game has a 54 and a half over under currently, and that's Dallas offense versus Atlanta's defense. Another smash spot for Dallas offense, and this should be a good get right spot. Honestly,
get right spot. Absolutely.
Atlanta's total DVOA for the season is 31st, and there's 32 teams. So, and then Dallas on their end, on the offensive end, they're third. They're the rated third highest, the third best offense in the league. And then also Gallup could be back for this game also. So that's just another weapon to add to what Dallas has. So, giddy up. There's a lot of points to be scored.
And just real quick, I know we've been throwing out DVOA out a lot. Those of you that didn't join last week, DVOA is just basically, it stands for defense adjusted value over average. So it just kind of takes a measurement on a per play basis on how a team is performing relative to that metric. So Dallas passing offense, Dallas offense in general, like how they're moving the ball. It filters out like all the noise, like whether it's spikes or whether it's incompletions or things of that nature. It just measures how they're performing on a per play basis. And if they're at the top of the list, or if they're near the top on offense and near the bottom on offense, then it's pretty self-explanatory, like how to look at those teams.
Yep. All right. So our last section of the show. So us being from Texas, we don't have gambling is not legal here. So how we get our fixes with player props and Prize Picks, that allows us to get in on the fun a little bit via player props. And player props, I mean, that's something that's, I think, being introduced mainstream into fantasy. And you can apply those player props to your actual fantasy squads in terms of like, okay, I see that this tight end that they're over under that Vegas is looking at as 40 and a half. So I mean, that's a good yardage number for a tight end, because I mean, generally tight ends is a scrap heap. So you can use usually player props to gauge kind of where they're projecting where these particular players are going to come out on the other end after the game is finished. So we have a few player props that we want to go through. So I'm gonna go ahead and start it off. My first one is Dan Arnold over 38 and a half receiving yards. He has been Jacksonville tight end. he has been at or above 60 yards 3 of his last 4 games. I'm not counting the game that he had got traded to and played against the Bengals because that was like off of like 3 days, and he still played like 20-something% of the snaps. So basically, when he's been in the offense, he's gone at least over 60 yards 3 to 4 games. Colts are the fourth worst in allowed yards to the tight end, with allowing over 60 yards per game. So I think Dan Arnold over 38.5 is a good spot. Another one that I had was going back to the Dallas game is CD Lamb over 65.5 receiving yards. Like I said before, this is a get right spot. Atlanta is fourth worst in the league in DVOA via the pass. And like I also said, they're 31st overall DVOA. So I think this is definitely a get right spot for CD Lamb. And then my last one I have is Baker Mayfield under 225.5 passing yards. New England's secondary has been on fire since our Cowboys blessed their defense with over 600 yards of offense. Baker hasn't thrown over 225 yards out of 3 of his last 5 games, and in one of those games was 234. So I'll bet the under on that one.
Yeah. All right. So I have a couple here. Teddy Bridgewater over 245.5 passing yards. He does, over the last couple of weeks, he's gotten Jerry Jeudy back as top receiver, and they're playing the Eagles this week. And Darius Slay left the game late with a hamstring injury, and then the Eagles got lit up by Justin Herbert for 356 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Teddy Bridgewater, he has been above that 245.5 number or that total in 5 of his 8 healthy games. So I think I think he's a good bet for this week. To put up that to put up those numbers against that Eagles secondary. And then I touched on Dalvin Cook earlier, over 85.5 yards rushing against the last ranked run defense in terms of DVOA. It's just an easy one for us. He's gonna go well over that total. And then the final one that I have is DeAndre Swift under 40.5 rushing yards. He's been under this number, or he's been at or under this number in 5 of 8 games. He does most of his damage as a receiver. That's what makes him great. He has 47 catches on the year, which is pretty phenomenal from the running back position. But he's going to get Jamal Williams back in that backfield, so he's going to split carries with him, and it's going to be less opportunity for him to run, but there's probably going to be more opportunity for him later on in the game as they're trailing to catch passes. And the Steelers, they have a pretty good run defense. They're 9th in rush defense DVOA. So DeAndre Swift under 40.5 yards is the play here.
Well, we at the end of another show. We did it.
There it is.
Episode 2.
There it is.
All right, you got anything for us before we get up out of here?
Yeah, we appreciate you rocking with us. For our second straight show. Like, subscribe, rate, and review. Follow the show at Off the Line FF on Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter as well. Follow me at just_Ike09 and follow Eugene at Fantasy Genes GENES.
Yeah, and like you say, you can find us on YouTube at Off the Line Fantasy Football. We're on all streaming platforms like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and others that you can get. Just find us under Destination Devi. And we'll be back next week talking to y'all good people again. Remember, are you a pretender or are you a contender? So until then, be safe. Go get you some W's.
Happy week.